Hey guys, GHZD here, back with another video. Today, I'm going to be taking you guys through everything we currently know about the Realm rework. How it works, how to activate beacons, all the different mobs and what dungeons they drop and where they drop, because there is a lot that has been added, and it is extremely easy to get overwhelmed at the moment with all the new content. As of right now, the new realms can be found on any server. At this stage, since it's an open beta, the realms have that specified, but if you can't read, big number mean better. Because quite frankly, if you're gonna go into the old realms, what are you even doing, man? Why? It's very important that you realize that this is an open beta, which means a lot of stuff may not be balanced and everything is new. Lots of people are losing characters in unexpected ways right now, so don't bring anything that you're not prepared to lose until we know that all the kinks are worked out at least. Deca will not be reviving characters for any unexpected deaths. The new realm system is designed in a way that no longer requires the players to be on an active server for you to be efficient with your time. The previous meta was to find a server that was full so that you would actually have enough people to teleport to in the realms, because there is legitimately no point going into an empty realm only to walk all the way to the Godlands, find the dungeon you want, complete the dungeon, only to be sent back to the beach. That is really good game design, Deca. Thank you for keeping that in for so long. It is no wonder every server was dead with everyone piling into US East, because that shit sucked ass, man. With this being said, the new system still does require you to walk around the realms. However, they now reward this exploration by providing beacons that are spread out across the map for you to discover. Activating these beacons will turn it into a teleport region that you can use at will for the remainder of the realm being open. All you have to do is fight an enemy that's protecting the beacon to activate it. There are actually quite a few beacons throughout the map as well. I think sometimes there are more than one per biome. Don't quote me on that though. There are quite a lot. Don't worry about having to search too long to find them either, because they're designed in a way that if you were to follow the paths along the map, you will eventually run into one. They essentially create a large network with one another, so if you want to find one, just follow the path. Nothing bad will happen, I promise. There are quite a few new biomes added to the realm. These biomes range in tier. You have the lowlands equivalents, the Adept regions, which are kind of similar in difficulty to the old Godlands, and then you have the veteran areas, which are a step above the Godlands tier in difficulty. Some, more so than others, I would say. What is this? Whilst the rework was on public testing, I spent countless hours farming each of the biomes to create this fairly large graphic. Whilst it's not even remotely close to being complete, it does give us an idea as to what enemies spawn where, and if you're hunting for Urgles, for example, to complete the missions that are active at the moment, you've got to look to the Plains biome, because the Urgles spawn here. I initially made this graphic for my own personal use to help me farm, whatever dungeons I wanted, because I noticed that a beholder dropped a Manor of the Immortals. And suddenly I realized that pretty much everything that we know about the enemy's drop rates and drops are completely changed. Whilst this is true in some regards, there are lots that have remained the same, thank God. This graphic only represents the drops that I saw with my own eyes, so it's probably fair to say that the Cave of 1,000 Treasures still does drop from the Jinn. I just, couldn't say with 100% certainty because it's a rare dungeon and I hadn't seen it drop yet, so I'll be updating this graphic along the way as I can. As of the 24th of April, this is the most up-to-date I've got this graphic so far. I'm going to provide a link to a downloadable version of this image in case you want a copy for your own. I'll put it in my Realm Eye and I'll put it in the description of this video. I'll be updating this link with the most recent version whenever I can, so check back here and there to see if there's anything that's changed. If you have screenshots of enemies or can confirm specific drops, please send me a message on Realm Eye with the drops in question, and I'm going to update that as frequently as I can. Let's make this a big group project, because I am just one small person, okay? This took so much effort. So let's talk through the biomes then, and why this is all significant. I'll quickly start with the lowlands equivalent biomes. Other than a few aesthetic overhauls, they essentially contain all of the old enemies that we know and love. There are a few Easter eggs here and there, so I'm not going to spoil many, but I do suggest that you wander around the beach for a little bit. You may find some hidden treasure. Wink, wink. These areas drop the dungeons that you would expect, like Pirate Cave, Forest Maze, Spider Den, Hive, you know, you got the drill, the early game stuff. I should also note that there are a lot more biomes in this region that I haven't really covered. I'm just being lazy. Moving up in difficulty, the first relevant biome, that being the first Adept biome, at least in my opinion, is the Dead Church. Characterized by this weird dark mulchy ground texture, not to be mistaken with the Plains biome, which has the Urgles. This biome is home to the Kage Kame spawn locations, so you're going to find a bunch of cemeteries here, which is super handy. It also has the Pope, and it's also got Morbius. Decker has noted that this region is a really good place to acquire wisdom, although in my sessions, I wasn't really getting too lucky with the drops, so I can't really say why that's the case. Do they drop dungeons that typically drop wisdom, or do them themselves drop wisdom? Who knows? That's kind of why I need your guys' help. A larger sample size is required here, and it will make my life a lot easier. So message me on Realmi if you can. It's also at this point that I need to discuss how biome set pieces work and the events work. Each biome will have higher tier enemies referred to as set pieces. You'll know it's a set piece and not an event because it's not going to have a boss health bar. These enemies are on respawn timers, and they're going to typically drop potions in dungeons, and you can kind of endlessly farm them in a loop. Although from what I can tell, they're not always guaranteed to drop dungeons or potions, so it's just like a higher tier enemy. In addition to these set piece events, you also have actual biome event encounters. These are the ones that have the boss health, and as you would imagine, since they are events, they have their own specific UTs. I should quickly clarify now, I do talk about it in a second, but the biome whites actually drop from all of the enemies within the specific biome, just at a higher rate from the events, as you can imagine. We have confirmation of this as of today, actually, on the Reddit. And for whatever reason, the pumpkin drops a conflict. Okay. For example, the Lich King found in the Dead Church is one of these events and drops the new UT Skull for the Necro, which spawns skeletons to either fight for you or they'll defend you. It is extremely cool. It's also suggested that all of the enemies within a specific biome can also drop the biome-specific white bags. I'm not entirely sure if this is true yet. I haven't seen a screenshot to confirm this, but people are saying that the biome-specific white bags aren't just dropped from the events themselves, they are actually dropped from all of the enemies in that biome. There are a whole heap of biome UTs to hunt for. They are extremely cool. My favorite so far is either the Necro Skull or the Priest Tome that basically transmogs you into a crab, which is sick. Don't ask me why, it just does. As of right now, I'm not entirely sure how many different events can actually spawn in a specific biome, since I've only seen the Lich King in the Dead Church, but I have seen a new Ghost Ship event and a Crystal event in the Ice biome, for example. So there's 2 in the Ice biome at least, and 1 in the Dead Church at least. I don't know how many there actually are. I'm also aware of Cube Gods, Skull Shrines, Loddles so far spawning, but they appear to spawn all over the place, kind of like the old realms. So I don't really know what to classify those as. We do know, however, that the drop rates are confirmed to be higher for these events now, which is awesome. So hopefully I haven't confused you too much here. The set piece events and the events will form part of your quests as your power level increases. I know that on an 8-8 max night, I would be basically given the event-specific set-piece quests pretty regularly, so it felt like if I teleported to a specific biome, I was always bouncing back and forth between the set-piece events, and it would only be when I teleported to a different biome that I started farming the other biome set-piece events, which was pretty cool. You basically are always doing something, which is really, really nice. With each new biome comes a whole new variety of enemy types as well. I won't go through them all because I think we would be here for about 1 trillion years, but feel free to do that in your own time. I'll highlight some of the dungeons of interest and some of the potion drop locations. So, it is clear that most biomes drop a very nice selection of potion types. It seems like the Risen Hell biome is where you're going to be able to farm the majority of your defense, attack, vitality needs, and it drops the spooky dungeons that you might expect, such as the Abyss, UDL, Cursed Library. I'm also about 200% sure that this guy also drops the Shaitans, but he won't drop it. I know you do, bro. I've seen it spawn in the realm, I just haven't seen it with my eyes, okay? I can't say for sure, but it definitely does. If this doesn't drop the Shaitans, I will delete my channel. Don't quote me on that. There is also an important talking point here as well. All of the previously difficult to obtain dungeons typically found in the Court of Oryx are now available in the realms. I know for sure that the Puppet Master's Encore dungeon drops from this hooded guy in the Sanguine Forest, although it was not that common at all. I farmed for a while and it was the only one that I saw. And I also know that the Daughter of Limon, which is one of the new events in the Sprite Forests, also drops it. The Nadarian Reef drops from the Deep Sea Abyss enemies, or at least some of them anyway, specifically the jellyfish. What's also interesting is that thematically they're trying to keep it the same as well, which means that you're also able to find the Nadarian Reef in the Coral Reef biome, which is awesome. Although I imagine it's not going to be anywhere near as common as the higher tier regions. Another interesting feature I noticed about the Shipwreck Cove was that because of how frequently the ghost enemies spawn, the Cave of 1,000 treasure actually dropped relatively frequently, at least on testing. So if you wanted to farm for this dungeon, I highly recommend the Shipwreck Cove for that one. As you can imagine, the higher tier difficulty areas, those being, above the Adept regions, will also drop higher tier dungeons, such as your Deadwater Docks, Tomb of the Ancients, Sulphurous Wetlands, Sea Depths, Ocean Trench. And what's amazing about this is that these dungeons, at least most of them anywhere, were exclusively locked behind event spawns, meaning that you'd only get a couple of dungeons dropping each realm. This is a massive change and it helps a bunch if you and your friends are grinding for something specific. The most complete enemy drop collection that I have for dungeons so far is the Ancient City biome. This biome is actually quite interesting because it's characterized by a large abandoned city in the center, surrounded by a barren wasteland. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of how bland some of the outside feels here, but it will feel quite comfy to all of you older players because it's essentially very similar to the old Godlands. But the Beholder drops a mana now. The Haunted Hallows biome is also one that I managed to complete most of, I think. Another interesting point here is that it seems like each enemy does have their own potion drop, and this was extremely consistent. Like these dudes would always drop Dex, these guys would only drop Death, but you'll get the occasional enemy that also drops more than one, which kind of blows my theory out of the water. Like, do all of the enemies drop all of the different potions and some just have biases? I actually have no idea. Currently, I suspect that there are specific potion drops per enemy, and the odd enemy here and there will drop more than one. I don't, however, know how the life and mana drop tables work, because it would seem completely random that this one enemy just has a life potion drop. Do all of the enemies have a small chance of dropping life in the veteran areas, or is it actually just this guy? It's probably too uncommon for me to figure out exactly for now, but this kind of will all change, hence why I need you guys to help me out here. Message me your findings, okay? We are detectives now. You are being held and employed against your will. Do it. I can say, however, that you are now officially able to max a character 8/8 just from farming inside the realm, which is huge. Pair this with them now making the potion requirements less to max, and you'll be maxing in no time. Aside from the realm related changes, we also have changes to the maxing progression system like I mentioned earlier. Creating a new character will now be easier to max than ever. With each level that you acquire, the amount of stats that you gain each time is greatly increased from what it once was, meaning that by the time that you're level 20, on average, you're going to require 10 less potions to max for each of the stats. This is incredibly massive. Not only this, but defense for the first time also increases now per level by either 0 or 1 on average. So you're basically going to have the equivalent of having drank 10 defense potions by the time that you reach level 20. Again, this is huge for new players. Alright, well, that pretty much covers all of the major questions that you may have had about the Realm rework. There is still a lot to cover. Please let me know if you want any clarification on anything. I'm going to answer all the questions in the comments. Be sure to check out my guide on how to do the new fishing minigame. That's right, fishing is now in Realm. It is officially an MMO. Although I'm pretty sure it's currently bugged as far as I'm aware. People are saying that their fishing bubble disappears after a few seconds, so at least you'll know how to do it once it inevitably gets fixed. If you want to help me out with the graphic, all you need to do is message me on Realmi with a picture of your drop as evidence, or at least try to describe the enemy that you killed as best you can. It's also important to note that this will likely change extremely quickly and will have to constantly be updated because this is an open beta and drop locations, sprites, and pretty much everything will change. Anyway, that's it from me. Take it easy, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.